for all the buildings, all the landscaping, and for the central garden, but he never got to build his central
Relationship
garden.
I can point out. So let's walk over here. Because you have to be exact when you're doing architecture. But he is known for his straight lines and his very...
Possibly not together.
I would think that's a good thing. I would think. also was used to build the colonnade at St. Peter's. So when Richard Meyer chose the travertine, he looked at over 30,000 pieces of stone. He chose the travertine for several different reasons. The first one we've already talked about, color. He wanted this great beige color. Second reason is that he wanted to have that classical connection back to ancient Rome, and he wanted to use a quarry that had been used to build something from ancient times, and he chose the quarry that was used to build the Colosseum. He also wanted this beautiful texture. And the way that he gets the texture is they would take a big block of stone, they decide how thick they want each panel to be, and the panels vary from 2.5 inches to 5 inches thick here depending on where they are. And they would bring down a big blade like a guillotine and it would crack open the stone and reveal this beautiful texture. And that's what he wanted, was this texture. You can actually see the texture all the way down through Act 405 The way that it's hung again is individual squares. There's no mortar. Why do you think there's no mortar?
Because it breaks.
Thank you. When he designed this, he started designing in 1984. They finished building in 1997. I mentioned that when he got the commission for all the buildings, all the landscaping, and for the central garden, but he never got to build his central garden. One of the reasons he didn't get to build his central garden is he was way over budget, and the trustees pulled the plug. So when he was looking for stone, and there's so much stone here, he had to find stone he could afford because he had a limited budget. He'd been told, that's it, you can't have any more money. So he had to find something he could afford. So he could afford this stone. There's relationships here. This is a relationship I can point out. So let's walk over here.
The squares are 30 to 35 inches.
Landscaping design. So taking a look at these crepe myrtles, you can see that they've been trimmed in a cube. The cube is 15 feet by 15 feet by 15 feet, which is a multiple of 30 by 30. When you look at the bushes along the railing, each individual bush is cut to be 30 inches by 30 inches by 30 inches. When I told you the man likes order, this is an example of being structured and orderly. There's a connection and a relationship here between everything. When you look at the straight lines I was mentioning, if you will stand behind this gentleman with the camera, or behind me if you want to, behind me, stand in the line on this line and take a look at this group of trees. And tell me what, come on folks, we're going to ask you to move and get into the line, yep, and tell me what happens.
You see one tree, only one tree.
Only one tree. He wanted that straight line, so he chose these trees, and they're crepe myrtles, by the way. He chose them because they have straight trunks, and he can have this straight line that he was looking for. He chose them because he can have them cut. There's very tight foliage into the cube of 15 feet by 15 feet by 15 feet. And he chose them because the way that they're pruned, it causes the bark to get that design on it, which is the same design as the stone that we're standing on. So he wanted the trees to relate to the stone, and everything here is in relationship.
What color the flowers?
These are white. White. But you can see we have 3 rows of lavender here, and they'll be blooming in another few months. We have something blooming in lavender on the property every single day.
Did he plant garden type flowers or just?
He did all sorts of different things. I mean, depending on where you are.
Do you have gardens?
Well, we have the gardens. We do have gardens, but that's more the central garden. And he planned it, but he didn't build it. So I'm showing you all these straight lines. Let's go back.
Tail, as we say down south. And he said, you know, those chairs have to be just this way. He said, but the public has to sit in them, you know, and they don't know that. And there was a confrontation.
I don't know about the conservation. I've not heard about that. He is
He's
very,
talking about
very
the
orderly,
architect,
very
Mr.
structured.
Meyer.
Most architects are, because you have to be exact when you're doing architecture. But he is known for his straight lines and his very precise way of doing things. I told you we're going to look at an overview of the Getty Center, so follow me and we're going to go around this map.
The trees ahead are the same trees as these on this side, but they look different because of the way they were pruned.
I don't think you got a bus, you went very far down, but there's 7 levels to the parking lot. So all of this soil and all of this rubble was being dug up, and he was told by the city of Los Angeles, you may not take any of it away from the site. It all has to be here when you're finished. But oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Well, good idea. I'm going to design my central garden, and I'm going to take this canyon and I'm going to fill it in with all this rubble and dirt, and I'm going to make a platform for my central garden. Surprise, surprise, squares going along it, and at the very end there was going to be a waterfall coming out in front of you, and you'd have this gorgeous vista of Los Angeles. Doesn't that sound spectacular? That's not what's there.
That's not what happened.
Not what happened, yes, exactly. In the early 1990s, the trustees told Richard Meyer that he was not going to develop his plan for the Central Garden. And they gave the project to a gentleman named Robert Irwin. Now, Robert Irwin is a Southern California artist. He's a minimalist artist and performance artist that likes to use light and shadow. He wasn't a botanist, he wasn't a landscape architect. I don't even know if the man had a garden. And this is who they gave the project to. It looks completely different than the design I just described to you. I will tell you this, it was a win-win. Robert Irwin has been recognized as making an incredibly beautiful garden, and he has gone on to get commissions all over the world to build gardens. So we ended up with this gorgeous campus, beautiful landscaping, all designed by Richard Meyer, and this sensational central garden designed by Robert Irwin. If you go down, there's different ways to access it, but this staircase behind you will take you down into the garden.
Did they talk to each other?
No. There's actually a video, so we kind of seen different videos. There's a video about their relationship and about the building of the Getty Center and the Central Garden. Did you see that? Yeah. And initially, when Robert Irwin got the commission, they were communicating. But when he revealed his design, which is very different than the design of Richard Meyer, there was a failure to communicate. Both men, I understand, come and visit. I've never had the honor of meeting either one of them, but I understand they do come to the Getty Center.
Possibly not together.
I would think that's a good thing. I would think